Yo, what is up, everyone? Back here with another video. We're going to be going over the match between Wolf Glick and Shiliang Tang. I believe I said the name properly. I'm going to refer to him as Tang from now on, just in case I brutally murdered it, but I'm pretty sure I got it right. So basically, this match is like a really insane match from day one of Worlds that I think really highlights the strength of Dark Urshifu, which is why I wanted to cover it. I think Dark Urshifu is one of the strongest Pokemon in the format, and this team really just kind of showed how you can really exploit the damage it deals, especially onto these more balancey kind of teams, right? And Wolf is obviously running a balanced team, which is kind of built to kind of play positionally around these, kind of offensive teams. So he has a core of Iron Hands, Gyarados, Flutter, Chi-Yu, Amoonguss, and Furgiraffe. Furgiraffe was probably the one where I was like, whatever. But, and then, on Tang's side, you have the Urshifu, you have the Goldango, you have the Landorus, you have the Tornadus, and you also have, oh my god, I'm blanking. Oh yeah, Hisuian Arcanine, and then I believe the last, I actually don't know the last, but we'll probably see it. But anyways, Dark Urshifu is like the main highlight of this anyways. I think Double Genie's Dark Ursh is just like what you would go here, so.
Yeah, I love the.
It's like a very offensive team that he's running.
Be able to go on Shilang's Gyarados, like you got to be really value side.
Come on, but both trainers. The final best of 3.
Okay. So, Landorus and Tornadus lead into Iron Hands and Amoonguss. So immediately this already favors, Tang, because you're pretty. Oh my god, the genies were like gone for a second. Basically, you're pressuring Intimidate already on Hands, right? So Hands is weakened. Hands does have Fake Out pressure, but I feel like if it's Covert Cloak Torn, you could just throw a Taunt here at the Amoonguss. I'm pretty sure it is Covert Cloak. I don't think it's Mental Herb Amoonguss, so there's a little bit of like pressure there, right? Also, there's a Goldango swap in the back potentially as well, right? Which kind of puts out a bit of pressure. So I just think that right now, like, there's definitely a lot more plays from Tang's end. Wolf can definitely reposition. He's probably going to do something like switching to Gyarados here. It makes a lot of sense because then you can weaken the Landorus, right? And then you're also putting yourself in decent position for next turn maybe to get like some waterfall chips. So that's probably what I'd expect to see.
The double genies with the Landorus and the Tornadus with Wolf.
I kind of want to do
Iron Hands and the
1.25.
I think the Tornadus Landorus lead here is really well positioned. You pressure with Taunt onto the Amoonguss immediately. Landorus pressures with an Earthquake. Now Iron Hands can fake out, so I think it makes sense to potentially pivot in that Gyarados. Gyarados is just so good at
Yep, Gyarados swap.
I think one of the things
that would make sense.
Is
he has Chi-Yu back as well, so that's good for gold.
So if you're really worried about something like a fake out into that slot this turn, you could just go straight to Terra immediately. But with it being open team,
he's considering making like a read. I think Flutter is the last on Tang's team. Okay, Gyarados and then Spore probably, right? It switches to Gyarados, Spores into Lando. Okay, yep, he goes for Spore. Yeah, I mean, going into Gyarados here isn't terrible. You get Intimidate down on Lando, right? You could start waterfalling. Oh, that's a big deal. So basically here, like, okay, so Wolf's play is pretty ballsy too, because I don't think he's Mental Herb, so he was basically just saying like, yeah, you're just straight up not going to taunt me, right? And Tang is pretty much like, yo, like, I know that I'm gonna taunt you, so you're not gonna click Spore. So Wolf kind of wins that interaction. Tang is kind of like Wolf's tournament demon. I think they're 2-1 or 3-1 now. I think Tang has beaten Wolf like 3 out of 4 times they've played. So like, I'm pretty sure they have a lot of experience with each other, and Wolf was probably making that play based off of how like Tang is usually played, if I had to guess. U-turn comes out here. If gold comes in though, then this was just an insanely good turn for Tang.
You know what can come in? Goldango. If you get the Goldango out, that's immune to the Spore.
That would be a huge call here from Shiliang. Let's see what it's gonna be. It is going to be.
Ooh, yeah, it's gold. Okay, so like, yeah, when that turn happens, you're kind of like, that's not great, right? Because now, like, Wolf is just throwing a Spore into gold, nothing happened, and you just took damage for free. The nice thing is, at least you get Regenerator when you switch, but this is definitely a little rough.
It's out turn 1 play there. Immune to Spore. Look at how much damage is done, and the other awkward thing is, Gyarados just can't do that
that's
much
pretty rough.
Right? You can water ball.
That's tough.
Yeah, the upside here is like,
yeah, you get switching hands at least, right?
So you can see Wolf looking for that switch immediately.
So he's kind of making the read, like, he's like, there's no Thunderbolt coming out here, right? Because Goldango could Thunderbolt here, calling Amoonguss a switch, but like, he could just Bleak with Thunderbolt, honestly. So that's pretty risky. So Wolf is kind of taking like a big risk here, right? He's basically saying like, yeah, I know you're not going to click Bleak with Thunderbolt, so I'm just going to switch in hands here and play aggressive with the Gyarados. I'm not going to play passive, so you can punish me for it. And I don't know what Tang is doing, obviously, but that makes a lot of sense from Wolf's end, I guess. If you're behind like this, you need to try and make plays to get back momentum, right? Bleakman misses.
damage down onto the Gyarados. As
I went for Shadow Ball, okay.
Be able to follow up that damage, and Gyarados is going to hang on here.
So the fact that it lived to spec Shadow Ball like that means that Gyarados definitely has special defense, because typically Gyarados will not like survive that if you have only defense. So like this is definitely especially defensive vested Gyarados, right? In terms of how you feel if you're in Tank's perspective, you definitely are probably kicking yourself a little bit, because you would have loved to fire off a Thunderbolt into that Gyarados slot and just take it out. But obviously I understand why he locked in Shadow Ball, because he's like, maybe Hands is going to switch in, right? And Amoonguss will go for a Protect. He's kind of covering his bases there, which kind of makes sense, because if you're winning the damage trade already, you kind of just make the safer plays to kind of keep building your lead. So for Wolf, if you're Wolf, you're probably feeling like okay about that at least, because you kind of got in like an okay-ish position.
Wow, even with that choice spec, able to hang on, a testament to Gyarados' vote. Of course, there was the ability for Thunderbolt to come out there, but you really want to be clicking
Thunderwave on the Torn is really nice here.
Shadow Ball at this point just hits everything for fairly good damage, and yeah, the Amoonguss was just in such an awkward spot. So Wolf at least gets the paralysis, but he's really behind in terms of damage output right now.
Exactly what Aaron said, right? He's just so behind in the damage.
You can see Amoonguss with that regenerator already able to heal.
You have to start making plays here, right? You have to start making some reads.
Pretty difficult situation right now, but the Golden Go is still in a fairly safe spot. And right now, I think the awkward thing for Shilang is, do you want to actually go for a switch, or do you hope that Wolf kind of eventually just targets that slot down for you? Because if you make a switch into what you have in the back, you leave it vulnerable to just taking a ton of damage immediately.
Shiliang is already showcased so much.
Shiyu comes in here.
I think that's really valuable.
Double switch is pretty risky, actually. He's basically saying, like, he's like, I know your Tornadus is going to switch, and that's going to put me in a good position if I bring in Shiyu and Amoonguss here, right? Because then I can cycle my guys again, and your Golden Go is probably just going to click Shadow Ball. So this is a pretty risky play again from Wolf. Again, he's behind on the damage trade. He has to be taking these risks, so it makes sense. All it takes is one call out, though. Or him just clicking Bleakwind. If he just clicks Bleakwind here, like, the Amoonguss goes down, right?
So Wolf is going for the double switcher, and the idea is, hey, like, I have Nasty Claw on this Shiyu, plus Shiyu is just fairly good into Golden Go. I can angle for a potential Spore onto the Golden Go slot as well.
He did switch, so he called that.
So a lot of good positioning here. Tornadus could be in an awkward spot if it just stayed in, and Landorus, a great Pokemon.
Yep, Landorus what comes back in. So this is like pretty good for Wolf. Like, you'd feel pretty good about this turn. Oh, that might KO. Oh, yeah. Okay, so like, never mind. I take it back. So like, basically Tang here is like, okay, so I'm gonna chunk your Iron Hands if your Iron Hand stays in. If your Iron Hand doesn't stay in and it gets like chunked by some by a Shadow Ball rather, that's pretty good for me, right? Like, I'm okay with that. So I think he's in a position now where like he's pretty okay with the damage he's gotten on the Amoonguss, right? Like, even though you're a little out of position, I think it's still fine. The only thing that kind of sucks about this is like now Wolf is in position to fake out Nasty Plot, but then like also like that's kind of hard to also like, I guess that's like it's kind of still hard because then the Lando gets a double powered stomping, so it's like still a little tricky, right?
That's a big KO there. This now means that there's no redirection support from the Amoonguss to protect the Shiyu. Now what you can do, of course, is bring
and Gold is free here to just keep spamming Shadow Ball, right? So
but I think it's been an amazing lead for Shilang, but Nasty Plot Shiyu has the ability to really just pick up KOs very quickly if it is able to get set up. So right now, we know that it's choice specs on the Golden Go, so yeah, of course you can Shadow Ball with it, but it's not really going to do too much, of course, to the Shiyu. So yeah, Wolf opting for that fake out Nasty Plot play. The question then, I think, for Shilang is, do you just switch out the Golden Go, or are you happy to just continue, go with your Shadow Ball?
I would just keep clicking Shadow Ball here, probably, honestly. Switching back, probably into Tornadus if I had to guess. Yep, and then he's gonna get tailwind up again. That makes a lot of sense. You're putting your Lando in a good position.
Too much more damage from the Landorus. Shiyu does get the Nasty Plot off, so we will see a +2 special attack boost to its power, but
that probably does like 40%. Oh, that was actually like 45 or 48. That was a lot. Yeah, that's like 48, 49. That's a lot of damage. I mean, if you're, again, if you're Tang, right, you just click Tailwind and you click Shadow Ball. There's like no drawback here. The only out Wolf has here, I think, is like there's a Para, and then he gets a Wild Charge off on Torn, and he gets a Flamethrower off on Gold. Or Dark Pulse.
Tornadus here is going to likely try to opt for a Tailwind, but if it gets fully paralyzed, Shiyu can take full control over the battle right now. Landorus in the back is still really good, but you still have to handle that Gyarados. I think if Gyarados had fainted earlier, it'd be a complete disaster.
Yeah, he's just going to go for a Wild Charge. Because you count, I think you count on the, I think you count on the Para. Yep. Because Tang should just play advantage here. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah, so that Para, like, it completely swings the momentum of the game. Like, and of course, too, 30% chance, right? So it's a little bit favorable for Wolf, but also, too, like, or it's definitely, like, favored for Tang, but, like, Wolf got a little lucky. But, like, also, too, like, you have to take that chance, right? You're so behind that, like, you have to kind of try and do your best to put yourself in the winning position. And that was probably the only play he could make, hoping that there was a Para for him to be, like, in the game, this game, right? So.
100% Wow, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Now the game's complete. The momentum has completely left Tang.
Wolf suddenly brings all the momentum back into his favor with a very
Yep.
favorable paralysis on the Tornadoes. If that parry
Now
didn't
Chiyu's
happen,
also
Tailwind goes
pressuring
up,
like
Shadow
crazy
Ball,
as
like,
well.
cancel Iron Hands. Iron Hands baits from the recoil, and you trade, but you have Tailwind up in the end game.
Oh, but it's Urshifu in the
Okay,
back.
yeah, that is
There you go. It's
absolutely
Urshifu Dark. Probably not the position you wanted in here though.
Really well conserved here in this end game.
That's going to be a big turn here. I mean, Lander is now even getting an attack drop onto the Iron Hands. Feels really nice in this situation. And fake outs off the board.
Oh man, I am so curious here. How much does Wicked Blow do into Chiyu, right? Chiyu here can also, of course, just go for a Terra. If it doesn't want a Terra, like, because otherwise then Wicked Blow just does less.
Yeah, so it's banned Ursh here, right? So you probably want to click like Wicked Blow into Chiyu, just because, you know, obviously. Ooh, Terra Water. I think he's trying to make the read on whether he clicks close combat or not.
Yeah, it's just an absolutely game-changing here.
If he clicks Terra Dark Wicked Blow, the game's over. Okay. Tang always makes crazy reads with his Ursh. I mean, Wolf, it makes sense that Wolf is going for water here. I feel like, oh, he didn't go for water. Okay, that actually makes more sense. He just outspeeds, so that's fine. And Gyarados survives, yeah. So at this point, right, this is pretty much game over. Like, it's clear, like, the Chiyu was kind of able to run over the game once it was able to get itself in a good position. I definitely think if you're, like, Tang, you don't feel, like, horrible about that game because you literally lost off of a full para. The one thing that you'd probably be a bit more considerate of, obviously, is, like, making sure you can keep that late game momentum. But to be honest, like, I think what he brought was pretty relatively, like, okay. I think you could consider Arcanine over Gold potentially, but even then, Gold was really useful because you got to switch into Mungus, right? I guess Arc has goggles.
And Wolf definitely can taste the victory now after this first game. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, too, you're looking at just rock slides to try to finish the job. The Chiyu is just faster.
Yeah, Wolf is just playing, like, ultra safe here. And now he's just going to get an Iron Hands. Fake out Flamethrower, GG.
Yep, fake out plus the Flamethrower here, and the Chiyu was able to outspeed the Landers as well, which is really pivotal. So having a lot of speed investment on Chiyu was really the game difference maker in this one, because if the Urshifu were faster, he has such a worse position, right? But the Urshifu here doesn't have a way to protect himself, didn't have a defensive Terra either, so the paralysis on the Tornadoes really changed everything. Huge. Absolutely changed everything. But sometimes when you're behind like that, you need to find ways to win, right? And the reality is that, like, I think Shilang played amazingly in the first.
I mean, so it's interesting because the way Wolf hesitated on whether he Terra'd or not in front of Urshifu tells you that, like, if it was Jolly Ursh, definitely would have outsped the Chiyu, but the Chiyu's faster than, like, Adamant Ursh. So that's, like, a really interesting interaction to keep note of. You can tell by the way people select moves sometimes.
Because the Chiyu is just such a big problem otherwise.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So that's something that Shilang is going to have to respond to.
Yeah, he's just going for water here, I guess, in case of a crit.
Just as an insurance policy, we do see the Chiyu go for the terrestrialization.
At this point, if you're Wolf, like, I think you just have it locked, right?
Super effective rock type attack.
I'm just gonna skip ahead.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Water Terror on Landers, but yeah. Oh well. Yeah, so I think here for Wolf, like, you're probably taking the same thing. Maybe you consider a flutter adjustment. If you're Tang, you probably do something similar. Maybe you take one adjustment, but yeah. I think overall you're feeling, like, okay-ish about how that went. Like, it really wasn't, like, a terrible game. It was just more so, like, I just need to, like, not get unlucky. Maybe you make an adjustment to something like the Arcanine at some point. Because Arc would be really good into the Chiyu, into the Amoonguss, and into the Gyarados. Yeah, it takes forever for them to get the match. There we go. Alright, so same lead. Chiyu hands, so this is a bit better for Wolf, right? Because now you can obviously get a free nasty plot off and just go for a fake out. So it's pretty good. I think if you're Tang, you definitely have to play aggressive here. You either call that there's no fake out coming in and click Earthquake, or you switch and make a play.
Eliminate Tornadoes as quickly as possible. I think the idea behind getting rid of Tornadoes is
I think that's your two like plays. If you're Wolf and you want to cover for a switch, you could actually click fake out and Dark Pulse into Landorus, or even Flamethrower.
That has been phenomenal. So Landorus gets a chance to be preserved.
Yeah, Flamethrower there, that would have gone crazy. You know what I'm saying? But here you go. So now Dark Ursh is kind of in position. Flamethrower would have been really nice, but it's fine. I think here, right, like in this position, like if you're Wolf, you're definitely really pressured by the Ursh, but you're not in like the most horrible position either at the same time. I mean, from here, from you know, Tang's end, I feel like you either click like Terror Dark Wicked Blow into Chi Yu and then click Bleak Wind, or you click Close Combat and Bleak Wind. I think Terror Dark Wicked Blow might be the play he goes for, but I could see CC as well.
For example, you could go close combat plus Bleak Wind Storm, but Wolf of course can pivot out into either that Gyarados or the Amoonguss in the back. So yeah, you have a guaranteed super effective attack onto the Urshifu slot.
Yeah, Terror Dark Wicked Blow would go crazy.
You know what? I got intimidated onto you earlier, so I don't think you're gonna knock me out right now.
Amoonguss now.
Oh, there it is.
But it is time for a terrestrialization on Chiliang's side.
I would expect it to be the Dark Terror. It's time to just go Wicked Blow, Wicked Blow, Wicked Blow. Like, yeah, Chi resist it, but this is Dark Terror Choice Band Urshifu we're talking about. And
yeah, this is gonna do a lot of damage.
So that's one thing that really gives this Pokemon trouble. Bleak Wind does not miss either. And,
oh yeah, that Amoonguss is very dead. Yeah, if Urshifu survives this Drain Punch, this is pretty much like a GG go next, because then the Dark Urshifu is just gonna roll over the game.
Yeah, what makes this duel hard to fight against is you just can't protect in front of the Urshifu, right? It just kind of attacks you. So here's Drain Punch, and it does not get the knockout thanks to that Intimidate from Landorus.
Super nice there, as in Iron Hands, it does get a chance to heal back up to full, but it's tough in this position. And Wolf does have the opportunity to switch in the Gyarados, at least get an Intimidate drop down, but that Urshifu...
yeah, like Gyarados could come in, but I don't know if Gyarados is supposed to come in here. I feel like it should be the Chi, and I'll explain why. So, I mean, you bring in Gyarados if you're hoping that you survive the Terror Dark Wicked Blow from Band. It's very unlikely, right? But the problem is now is you can't switch in Chi Yu, because then you'll die to Bleak Wind and Wicked Blow, right? And if you brought in Chi Yu originally, at least you could protect from the Bleak Wind and then go for, you know, obviously a, you know, like Drain Punch or something. Now it's a little bit dicier, right?
So I think right now, one of my main questions is...
I think honestly Urshifu's about to just roll through this whole game. And this is what I was kind of talking about, why this thing was on the thumbnail. I think Urshifu Dark is like one of the craziest Pokemon if you position it properly. Like Terror Dark Band is about to like absolutely just demolish this game and like roll over the board, right? Like this strategy is so strong if you can get in the right position.
One of the strongest attacks that you can even have in the game. I think you could also consider pivoting out the Tornadus into Landorus, but the problem with that is like, does the Intimidate really matter? It's not going to really allow the Urshifu to survive anyway, right? So I think what you're seeing Wolf consider here is really interesting, kind of baiting the Wicked Blow into Chi Yu. Chi Yu can resist it. The question then is how do you do enough damage to get to this end game? But Tornadus actually is going to make the pivot, so let's see if it's that Landorus coming out.
All right.
Landorus should make some sense here, just given that it's Iron Hands.
Yep.
As well as
You just keep cycling over and over again, giving yourself as much of an advantage as possible.
It's nice that the Landorus was preserved.
Oh, he switches Dark Ursh.
I completely agree. And it's going to be Golden Go coming out. Let's see.
Oh,
it
it's the
is.
Golden Go.
Okay.
Okay, so similar Pokemon to what Chiliang brought in that game number 1, but it's just a revolving door Pokemon right now. That Gyarados is also...
I don't know if that's like worse or better. Okay, so like Loki, it's kind of better, I guess, if Tailwind's still up, because then you could just Earthquake and switch, right? But let's see how this goes.
Let me get some repositioning. The Drain Punch there, yeah, is not going to do anything. And now Landorus' position against this Chi Yu. Tailwind, of course, is still up as well.
Yeah, Earthquake's pressuring pretty hard here.
Right, so it's really
I mean, I guess you Terra Water Nasty Plot, or you Terra Water Flamethrower and switching Gyarados.
Right now, this is a really pivotal turn. You know that the Iron Hands cannot go for Protect right now, so we're seeing the Water Terran switch out option.
You probably let Gold die, honestly, if you're Tang, because you just want to get torn in for free.
I mean, the Landorus out in front. Maybe you're expecting it to just stick around on the field.
That would be the way to like win.
Get an Intimidate drop on it, and that can certainly help out a lot with that defensive Terra on top of it. But this Golden Go, I mean, it's still in such a pretty good position. You just want to try to get as much damage down as possible, but it does have a choice spec, so you have to figure out exactly what you're going to be locking into if it does decide to stick around. And here's that Water Terra.
All right, let's see. Is it ever a double up on the Chi Yu here, right? You can Shadow Ball stop and from that slot.
U-turn comes out. That's all right. That's not a bad play either, I guess. If you're playing safe, you want to bait out the Terra. That also would have covered for a Protect. He's going to bring in Torn on that slot. Yep. And then oh, wow, yeah. That's pretty good. You're getting a lot of damage. That was actually like a perfect counter to what Wolf's play was. So like, I didn't even think about that play, but that's a really heads up play from Tang, because now you get all the free chip on the Gyarados, right? And then you also get your Torn back in position and just click Tailwind again, right? And then on top of that too, then your Dark Ursh and your, you know, Lando just roll through the game. You force the Terra Water out of Chi Yu, so now you could just click Wicked Blow into it.
Let's see, the Flamethrower goes into the Golden Go, and that is just going to be a...
Even though the KO looks good for Wolf because it evens up the score, it's not actually that good, because now Dark Urshifu is literally in a position to sweep.
Nice time to bring out that Tornadus to be able to set that back up.
Yeah, this is going to be so close, honestly. So Urshifu comes out. I think what is really pivotal this turn is do you switch to Chi Yu out, because you could obviously just go Chi Yu straight out into the Iron Hands right now, take that Wicked Blow, and then just go for a Waterfall to knock out the Urshifu. But that's the obvious play, right? So Chiliang might say, okay, you're going to make that switch. I'm just going to Wicked Blow the Gyarados slot instead. So, okay, let's see. I think this is such a...
Yeah, he has to make a read on what he Wicked Blows, right?
Oh, this is so tough.
It's a really tough mind game, I think, for both players.
I'm sure
Let's see.
So Chiyu does make a bit of a treat.
This is a wicked blow into Gyarados. The game is over. I feel like he wicked blowed into Gyarados, honestly. Oh, okay.
Nice defensive switch.
Oh my goodness. Okay, and there's Waterfall. That'll get the knockout onto Urshifu. So, yep, Wolf going for the play we were talking about. If the wicked blow had gone into Gyarados,
However,
that would be a
I
great
still
idea.
think that Lando is not in a terrible position.
But Iron Hand has that fake out right now, so you are able to click fake out onto the
This is close.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge.
It's actually scary as hell.
I
think you just Earthquake, right? You Earthquake and you go for Bleak Wind. Oh, that's actually kind of risky. Yeah, this is tough. This is tough. Oh, switch to you. Oh, see, I think if Wolf goes for a waterfall here into Torn twice, he might be able to win unless he locks in a Rock Slide. Uh-oh.
Just preserve that for later. Cycle through. Wolf season out for this game. But you do get the fake out into the Landorus. And Chiyu at this point, too. I mean, yes, it has to take a Bleak Wind Storm, but it takes it pretty comfortably.
That's definitely a little dicey.
Speed drop, that's not really super relevant here.
You could Rock Slide now here, probably, actually. I think you could actually Rock Slide here. You could Stomping as well, but I think Rock Slide's better.
This is very tense. And this Intimidate drop isn't kind of messing with the Tornadus at all, but a very safe play.
Okay, Protect comes out here.
Just kind of figure out what this Landorus is going to try to go for. But
If he read this, it's really bad for Wolf.
Not sitting at a super comfortable amount of HP anymore. Does get taken down to about like 1/5, and anything could really kind of clean it up.
Oh, okay, so he locked into Earthquake. So the reason why he did this is, first off, if Chiyu doesn't protect, obviously he hits it. But also, Gyarados is taking the chip on switching, right? So it's like, as long as you land Bleak Wind, you're fine. And Earthquake should be able to KO anything coming in. It also, this play also stops hands coming in for free, right? So I actually really like this play. I think this puts Tang in a really good position, if he can land his Bleak Winds, obviously.
A little tricky right now is how do you actually get enough damage to win this game, right? And I think the vision I see is you protect Gyarados right now. Wolf's actually just with the Waterfall, okay, and doubling up onto Tornadus. Like, I was wondering if you just lose the Bleak Wind plus an Earthquake right now, or Stomping Tantrum is what you slot. So I was thinking you could protect Gyarados. I guess the problem is, yeah, okay, it's just gonna be Bleak Wind. Wow, no protects, no switches, nothing.
Yeah, that's pretty much game, right? So I think, like, Wolf played really well, right? And, like, he definitely had, like, the end game in mind, which was, like, it kind of required one Bleak Wind to miss. But Tang just didn't miss a single Bleak Wind, right? So Wolf was just kind of able to, or Wolf, like, kind of lost. He just took too much damage, right, over time, especially towards the end of the game. He actually had a really decent mid-game. Getting him down to 2 mons was a big deal. But it's just like he didn't have enough in the tank, especially when Urshifu got that much chip on hands. Even though it looked bad because he didn't get the read right, it actually was pretty good because he got a ton of damage.
I think Wolf was expecting to survive that.
Wait. He EQ'd in the stomping. I think it's AV, actually. That's my bad. Yeah, that's AV.
You don't make that play. One of the other things I was going to talk about, by the way, was I wonder if Shane thought about going for Stomping Tantrum specifically, like onto Gyarados to knock it off to get the increase in damage output, but now it's down to Iron.
And now this is game 3, right? Because Iron Hands can't solo this. So
So we're going to a game.
It's X2. Still
this Urshifu was
Tornado.
Get Iron Hand.
A tailwind that he has to work
Right.
with as well, where the speed is just not in his favor.
Flutter and Gyarados. So I kind of like this adjustment, right? You're essentially saying, like, okay, I know that you are going to kind of go with your Lando Torn stuff. You've done it every turn. Now my Flutter is immediately pressuring you with some special attacks. I get an immediate Intimidate on you, so my Flutter is actually really threatening to you. This is a pretty good, like, lead, I think, from Wolf. You're obviously exerting a lot more pressure. The main thing you have to be careful with, obviously, right, is that, like, you're making sure you get your Chiyu in safely if you have it, and then your hands in safely if you have it, because they're both ground weaks, and there's a ground type on the field right now.
Off to a good start here when you look at the Flutter Mane on the table, and there is no Golden Go on the other side, as Shiliang is going to run back the lead to the Tornadus and the Landorus.
I think was you totally called it, where it's like Golden Go's really good, but the problem is you really feel safe leading Tornadus Golden Go. That's so weak to Chiyu, right? So the Torn Landorus combo is kind of just a middle ground he let go as well into everything. I think what's really
Yeah, so he does have the hands Chiyu in the back.
Looks like Wolf is thinking about just going on the offensive immediately. I think one of the things that you have to balance here if you're Shiliang is, like, if you have Golden Go plus Urshifu in the back, how do you actually get those in safely, right? If you can't win you for now, for example, that can actually be really awkward.
Now I kind of wonder, maybe is there an Arcanine in the back? I would be cool to be able to see that.
Arcanine would actually be really interesting. I think it's a fundamental problem in this matchup.
Okay, Terra Fairy. That makes sense.
So Water Mane makes an appearance. It's going to go for that Fairy Terra immediately.
He's just going for damage.
To do so. You're not super threatened by anything on the other
If he
side.
clicks Earthquake here, that's a little scary.
Nice adjustment that we saw from Chilean in game number 2 with the rock slide.
Just like flinch here would be
It
absolutely
would be
huge, but no flinch.
No
Moonbuck
flinch.
is able to get fired off by this Flutter Mane, and that Tornadus is
That's a big deal.
just
So, like, turn 1 actually is really, really good for Wolf, right? Because basically it's like, yeah, sure, like, you get some value, right, out of your Torn getting Tailwind up, but now you don't get to set it again. And usually Tang was able to kind of press his advantage in these games and win because the Tailwind was going up multiple times. So now Wolf is basically saying, like, you only get to do it once. If you don't make these 4 turns count, like, it's putting you in a really compromised position.
giving Chilean an opening to be able to bring something else in to operate under Tailwind.
Yeah, so you can bring out the Golden Go right now. I think you force the Terror out immediately, which is obviously pretty critical here. It is going to be the Urshifu instead, actually.
Urshifu Dark is still pretty good here because, oh, he almost, whoa, we'll see that in a second. But yeah, in general, right, the Urshifu obviously can pressure with the Terror Dark Wicked Blow here, and also, too, there's Rock Slide pressure. There's definitely some things that can be done here to kind of put that offensive pressure on. I'm kind of curious to see how Wolf is going to react to the Dark Urshifu on the board. It's definitely not impossible, but, like, Dark Ursh obviously is one of those mons. As I mentioned, like, that can really just swing games back in your favor.
Urshifu here is like, I was like, oh, what's going on there? The thing about Urshifu right now is like you have to decide what move to lock into, right? But I think the way that Wolf basically gets around this is you really need to cycle.
Then you just double switch, you try and play passive, stall out the Tailwind. The thing is, if Tang reads this, it's definitely not good, right?
Not a move that we talked about too much on this choice band set, but it's a very interesting one just looking at the options that are available right now. It's a nice pivot into the Iron Hands and the Gyarados.
Definitely a Terror Dark Wicked Blow coming out, I'll tell you that much.
On the other side.
So Wolf's strategy in this game is saying, I'm going to get rid of Tornadus immediately. You get 1 Tailwind up and that's it. If I get to an end game where I stalled out your Tailwind, I have Chio, I have Flutter Mane. Those Pokemon are just going to outpace you and they're going to get those knockouts. So now the question is, can Chilean get enough out of these next couple of turns of Tailwind?
Oh,
Where's
Iron Hands is gonna
Wicked
make
Blow
that,
That goes in Gyarados, it's pretty bad.
Wicked Blow is into the Iron
Okay.
Hands right now, and so a nice resist, and it's not going to take too much damage, but it's...
Right now, Wolf is, like, kind of outplaying here, right? Like, Wolf is obviously putting himself in a really good position.
See the rock slide into the Gyarados, but that Intimidate drop is really effective to be able to neutralize a lot of that damage when I'm going to see the Urshifu just kind of didn't
Fake out going into Lando, huh?
So the fade out here,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, there you
super
go.
safe, and I think like the reality is interesting.
Okay, Thunder Wave. Okay, so Thunder Wave in the Landorus here is like kind of what you do if you're like, okay, I want to lock up for sure. I'm gonna win the game. I know you're gonna click U-turn, but it is risking your good position. If you just click Waterfall here, you're always guaranteed good damage. So basically, Wolf's taking the gamble of like, okay, I'm ahead. Like, yes, I will give my opponent a chance, but I could potentially like just end up in a winning position because of this play.
Wow, that would be a huge read if Slander switches out.
It really would be, yeah. I think like Fake Out plus Thunder Wave onto Urshifu is late, but then the problem is Urshifu could pivot out into Golden Go, right? So that would be pretty awkward. So these next couple of turns I think are just such a fine line. Oh, my goodness.
Gosh, he's doing
There-
it.
Oh!
Almost.
So you got the switch right, and he brought in the arc. Yeah, that would have been such a like good play if he had gotten it right, but obviously he didn't.
That's going to be a big deal in this matchup, especially when it's going to
Free Rocky Helmet chip. Yep.
Oh, with the Rocky Helmet as
That's
well.
big.
And now stopping
Ooh, yeah, that's pretty brutal if you're Wolf. That's kind of what I meant. Like, it's not like a bad play, but like it's kind of like an unnecessary risk. Like, had he clicked like Waterfall Drain Punch into Urshifu, like guaranteed value, not a bad turn, but like here obviously he was risking a lot.
It was a good option to go for if you get the read onto anything else in the back that's huge. But
And this actually puts Tang back in the game a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, I think, for this Gyarados.
Yeah, this is so close because like Tailwind is now getting stalled out. Both players making some really interesting adjustments. And I think Azu and Arcanine is kind of the answer into the Flutter Mane that we were talking about earlier, right? So Waterfall Force still is really scary. This Azu and Arcanine does get access to Will-O-Wisp, also have Rock Slide. You could go for double Rock Slide here. It's not going to KO the Gyarados, but it's going to do a lot.
You could just protect and U-turn here, right?
This is going to be a protect
Yep.
from the Arcanine.
You could also just Rock Slide here, to be fair.
Gyarados is still on the field, but the
Oh yeah,
Rock
he's just gonna Rock Slide.
just to keep whittling away at these Pokemon. Iron Hands is doing very,
If he flinches Gyarados, oh yeah. Yeah, it's not good.
Iron Hands too, going for the Drain
Because now Tang can just double Rock Slide and get a big KO, right?
This is so intense because like Basolvus Landers is such a strong late game Pokemon here, especially if there's no nasty plot on the Shiyu. But basically like Wolf's in a tricky spot right now because he's like dancing around, not wanting to switch in the Flutter or the Shiyu, right? Both of those Pokemon are so strong.
Yeah, he's gonna try and get a Drain Punch off maybe. Oh, he's going for an attack? Oh, yeah.
Oh my
So much
gosh,
damage.
so much damage.
If Rock Slide flinches Gyarados here, that could be game, basically.
As you do see the Iron Hands get knocked out, a little bit of recovery here for the Gyarados, so it's not in too much of a tricky position in front of this Landorus, but it's the U-turn.
U-turn too, yeah, if it flinches here, that's also
Yeah, that's
something.
gonna be a now
So the big deal here is literally like, do you flinch or not? If he flinches, then it's game. If he doesn't flinch, then, or it's not game actually. It's still like actually winnable, but like it's a lot harder.
And another flinch.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Oh
This
my
Gyarados is just
goodness.
not getting a chance to move right now.
That is pretty bad.
Not quite yet, but yeah, just not being able to attack turn after
That is
turn
not what you want.
So difficult. Fluttermane now at least out on the field. Pressures with good damage, but this Arcanine being the adjustment.
So now you have to make the call, does he sucker punch or not, right? Because if he just wicked blows or through the protect, you kind of just lose, right? And if he sucker punches, then, you know, obviously your protect is really good, because then maybe you KO the Arcanine, you put yourself in a decent position, you know what the Urshifu's locked into. So this is really the key pivotal turn. Last turn was obviously really important because Wolf was in like a winning position. If he just gets the attack off, he wasn't able to get the attack off, so now he kind of has to mind game a little bit here.
Wrong. You can just go for something like Sucker Punch on a Fluttermane and Rock Slide right now. The adjustment to bring the Arcanine was so smart in this one.
I can't believe that he ended up bringing it.
Yeah.
It was a very
We were talking about it, we're
risky
like, is he gonna do it? Like,
maybe not, but it's turned out to be the perfect response to Wolf's game plan in this game number 3. There's still a chance Fluttermane can do a massive amount of damage, but the Hisuian Arcanine is in such a dominant position. Even though Gyarados is on the field and you have the ability to go for a huge, super effective attack,
we're playing right now for the Rock Slide miss.
you need to miss the Rock Slide.
Oh, you didn't even go for Sucker Punch, you went for Wicked.
Yeah, when you see that animation in your Wolf, you basically feel devastated because this is like GG, right? Like, you basically got red and like the Wicked Blow just went straight through the protect. So at this point, I don't think Wolf has any way to win. And like, by the way, his play was totally reasonable. I think Tang is just like insane because this play is so risky. And Wolf was like, yeah, you're not going to make that crazy risky play on like one of the final turns of the game that'll determine the whole thing in your Worlds Cut. And Tang was like, yes, I will. So,
Whoa!
It's
yeah.
just gonna go right into the protected Fluttermane.
And yeah, that's basically game.
No way.
Goodness, yeah, that's it.
That knockout is going to seal the deal of this game. Hisuian Arcanine is still going to be able to get a chance to the Rock Slide, and it doesn't miss. So Gyarados
If it missed,
gets knocked out.
and then he got a waterfall off, I don't even think that would save him.
Here he is gonna be able to take it. In what was an absolutely
He would have to miss like every Rock Slide now.
both ends. The Hisuian Arcanine to secure day 2 here for Shilang Tang. And the call to go for it instead of Golden Go.
That was a huge call. You
Oh,
still
yeah,
have to
Ursh
play
survived
the
anyways.
flamethrower. Not going to do enough damage to be able to
Damn.
deal with this Urshifu before it goes for the Wicked Blow to get that final knockout. And Shilang Tang is
Dude, after that set, you know Tang feels good. You lose the first game to Para, and then you manage to bring it back off some Rock Slide misses, those other 30%. So yeah, this was a pretty crazy game. I mean, you see the impact of the Ursh, right? Like the Ursh, I mean, it took all the key KOs in a lot of the games, got a lot of key damage, it managed to chunk hands like crazy. In both of the games where it really got to do something, and then it also really just got to go insane in terms of, you know, pressuring the Flutter. It destroyed Flutter through Protect, right? With Wicked Blow. I just think this Pokemon's like a really good sleeper Pokemon, and if you can find the right use for it on the right team, I think it can like absolutely go crazy. So it's definitely a Pokemon that I would expect to see, like, obviously consistently do well in this format. Maybe not as well as, you know, the other form of Urshifu, because Urshifu Water is a lot more prominent, but I definitely think it's something that you have to respect, right? So definitely a really cool match. I think that Wolf and Tang both played, like, you know, they played like crazy. It's your winning in for Worlds, of course. They made really good plays. I think the key was really just, you know, Tang was kind of a step ahead in some of the reads, and then had a little bit of luck going his way in the game 3, and Wolf had a little bit of his luck going the way in game 1. So, you know, it kind of, you know, that's Pokemon, right? So, yeah, it was definitely really, like, it was a cool match, though. I actually really enjoyed this one. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this match, and you guys, you know, obviously enjoy these kind of, like, reactions, reviews, analysis, whatever you call it, make sure to let me know down below what matches you'd like to see me cover next. And, yeah, guys, see you next one. Peace.